Commanders hire Dan Quinn to match with their new general manager, Adam Peters, to lead this franchise into the future.
The way that we live is not for everybody, okay? It's not, all right? Because we're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So it's Tell the Truth Monday after the 34-26 loss to the Dallas Cowboys, dropping the Commanders to 7-5 on the season, third straight loss in a row. And yesterday's loss, for me as a fan that has been enjoying this season thoroughly, this needs to be rock bottom if we are to make the postseason, if we are to take that next step and allow this season to feel the way that it's supposed to feel. You know, getting off to the 7-2 start pretty much put to bed any notion of being okay with missing the playoffs and okay with just having Jaden Daniels prove himself as a starting caliber quarterback and the answer for this, franchise's prayers at the quarterback position. When you start 7-2, you no longer get to just be excited about finding the guy at the quarterback position and having a solid season. That's no longer the goal. That went out the window when you started 7-2. So for all of those people who want to play we're 7-5, we were 4-13 card last year, that's fine. And again, I told you, cope whatever way you need to cope. Okay. If that's your move, if that's the thing that you're telling yourself to make you feel better, great, good for you. That's not good enough for me. Not when my favorite team started the season 7-2. Not when I saw this offense doing the things that it was doing. Not when I saw my quarterback doing the things that he was doing. Not when I saw this coaching staff doing the things that it was doing. It's not okay to then flame out and not make the playoffs. In a very weak NFC, I may add. It'd be one thing if this was a hyper-competitive conference and, it's going to take 11 wins to get in. Then, hey, you know what? Shit happens. But that's not the NFC. That's not the case. And there's still time to turn this thing around. But yesterday's 34-26 loss against one of the worst teams in football needs to be rock bottom. It needs to be rock bottom. Because the feeling that I had yesterday, it really doesn't get much worse than that. And the Steelers' loss was pretty damn bad. I mean, that one stung pretty damn bad. But yesterday, it was times 2 because it was Dallas. And they stink. And this was our chance to beat the shit out of them. And we squandered that. So, yeah, anytime certain aspects of your season die, I've expressed this to you before. I'm never more vulnerable than when certain aspects of the season die, right? When all hope is lost for that season, I'm a wreck for at least 24 hours. Like last year for me, that game was week 7 versus the Giants. I knew our season was over when we could not respond to the Giants, who were the worst team in football at the time, who hadn't scored any points really up until week 7's contest. We gave up 14 points. They didn't score again. We got 14 points in the first half. They didn't score again in the game, and we couldn't beat them. And we acted as if we had never seen a blitz, yet we talked about the blitz all week. I knew right then and there this season was over. I was a wreck for that 24 hours after that game because that season died, and I knew it. It was over. The whole, Newhow order, Eric Bieniemy being, this savior as an offensive play caller, all of that was dead, and I knew it. Anytime that, we're chasing after the playoffs and you lose that one game that officially eliminates you when you had a legitimate shot, like in 2022 when we lost to Cleveland, really when we lost to the Giants, it felt over, but you still had a shot. But when we lost to Cleveland, I knew it was over. And that one stung, right? It's the same thing in 2021 when we lost to Dallas. Remember, we had 5 straight games in the division to finish up the season, and the first of which was against Dallas. and they came to our building. They brought their heated benches, and they proceeded to kick our ass. And I knew right then and there, this shit is over. Yesterday sucked because a piece of the season died for me. It's not the most important piece, right? We still can make the playoffs. We can make something of this season. But the piece of the season that said you can win this division, there's still hope. You just got to play competent football down the stretch and give yourself a chance. That week 16 game against Philadelphia, that could mean something. That piece of the season died yesterday. It died. And so yesterday was tough. It was a bitter pill to swallow. Knowing that you had a vulnerable Cowboys team in front of you that was begging to get their asses kicked and you didn't want to kick it. That sucked. And for me, if we want to make the playoffs, if there is postseason football ahead for this team, yesterday's 34-26 loss to the Dallas Cowboys needs to be rock bottom for this season. It can't get any worse than that. This is when we're finally going to test that brotherhood, that culture that DQ has been fostering and building for the last 6 to 7 months. We're going to find out how strong of a bond there truly is in that locker room. How good of a coaching staff he has assembled. Because we know the talent level isn't great enough to compete with the best of this league. That's apparent. We knew that before the season started, and it's become even more abundantly clear here of late. That's fine. We're in the first year of a recalibration. We're finding our north. So that's not a surprise to any of us. But this is real adversity. And I always tell you that sports is a microcosm of life. And I can tell you firsthand, as someone who has dealt with adversity in their lives, the time when you find out what you're truly made of and who you can really, truly rely on is when you hit rock bottom. I can talk about it because I've been there. And I know that the people that I could count on in that situation, and I found out a lot about myself, what I was and what I wasn't willing to do, and who I could and couldn't count on. And that's why my circle is so damn tight. It's small and it's tight because it's people that I know if I need it, they got me. And vice versa. Well, this is that moment for this team this year. That adversity has hit. All that brotherhood that they talk about, all of this culture that DQ talks about, the time is now to tap into that shit like never before. You just lost to a 3-7 team who had lost 5 straight with Cooper Rush at quarterback. They had 13 points through 3.5 quarters, and you let them beat you. You blocked a punt, you blocked a field goal, they missed a field goal, and you let them beat you. They did everything that they had been doing on their losing streak. They did everything. The penalties, the mistakes, the miscues, they did all of it. And you let them beat you anyway. Doesn't get much worse than the performance we watched yesterday. You let them run it, you let them throw it, you let them have a special teams touchdown. I begged you not to kick the football to Kevontae Turpin. I begged you all week. Don't let your pride get the best of you. Kick it out of bounds. Back of the end zone. Not out of bounds. Kick it out of the end zone. You wanted a dirty kick and you got a clean return for a touchdown. Yesterday was rock bottom, or at least it needs to be if this team has any aspirations of making the playoffs. Because if you lose to Tennessee next week, that's the new rock bottom, and I don't know if you can recover from it. So, it's Tell the Truth Monday. Here's the truth. The sad, cold, harsh reality truth is this. We're at a crossroads in our season. And if things do not change, if the coaches aren't willing to change, if the players aren't willing to change, if this remains the same product moving forward, this is not, I repeat, not a playoff team. That is not okay, by the way. I don't want to hear from the, well, 7 wins is better than 4 last year. Not when you start 7-2. Had we started this season off 4-8 and we finished with 7 wins, yeah, that's an improvement. You betcha. Ding! Yeah, I'd be excited about that. We started this season 7-2. No playoffs is unacceptable. But if they don't change their behavior, they don't change the way they do things, Cliff Kingsbury is going to have to step out of his damn box. Terry can't just be on the left side of the formation. They're going to find a way to get him the football. I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear about, oh, they did this or they did that. I don't want to hear this shit. Get your best player the football. And whether that's in a bunch, it's in a trips, it's on the left side, it's on the right side, I really don't give a shit. But if adjustments are not made, if things do not change, guess what? This is not a playoff team. The crossroads is now. What type of team do you have? Let's see what that brotherhood is all about. It's going to be tested. It's being tested as we speak. This is the adversity that we knew was going to hit at some point this season. Like we all knew Austin Seibert at some point was going to implode. We were waiting. Every single one of us, to a man, said, it's coming. We just don't know when. Well, it happened yesterday. Just like we knew at some point this season, adversity was going to hit. Now, did we think it was going to be a 3-game losing streak? No, I didn't. I'll be honest with you. 2, yeah, maybe we lose 2 in a row, but not 3. Well, here we are. What are you going to do about it? I can tell you something that you're not going to do. You're not going to follow the keys to victory, which is what we're going to tap into now. This is, spoiler alert, this is the worst keys to victory I've ever seen. Hence the loss to one of the worst teams in the league this season. It all makes sense. I curate these keys to victory every week specific to the opponent, and if you follow them, we have a great chance for success. You don't follow them, you're probably going to lose the football game. Well, guess what? They didn't follow any of the damn keys, so you lose the football game. Go figure, right? Let's go through them quickly. Offensive keys. First one, get back to playing Commanders football. Did you see any Commanders football out on the field? Hell, do we even have an identity anymore? Feels like we've kind of reverted back to, don't really know what the hell we're going to be week to week. Just hope we do enough to win this week. Because we established an identity the first 10 weeks of the season. These last 2 weeks, I don't know the team that I'm looking at. I don't know what the hell we're trying to, what the objective is. I don't know what we're trying to achieve. I don't know if we're trying to run the football. I don't know if we're trying to throw the football. I don't know what the hell Jaden's doing when he rolls out of the pocket. I have no idea what I'm watching, okay? I see a team blitz us. I see us panic. I see us throw the ball to Noah Brown, and it's incomplete, and we have to punt. We don't have an identity right now. We're not pass blocking well. We're not run blocking well. We're not executing on third downs. We're not winning time of possession. We're not sustaining drives. We're not scoring points. We're not even making trips into the red zone anymore. So we can't get back to playing Commanders football if we don't even know what it is. We've lost our identity. So clearly, we get no points for that yesterday. We didn't stop the run. We didn't run the football. We didn't pass protect. And we damn sure didn't get after Cooper Rush. Next offensive key. Practice makes perfect. We heard all week long about practice. Oh, man. Feels good to get out on the practice field. Good against good. Finally got all of our offensive linemen healthy. Brian Robinson Jr. is healthy again. Jaden Daniels is healthy. We're really able to get out there and get those reps. Yeah, let's see what it looks like. Shit. That's what it looked like. Pure T shit. The same shit we saw against Philadelphia. No creativity. No, hey, look over here, sleight of hand. No motion, no shifts, no nothing. Just basic line up and let us try to beat your mano-a-mano and this shit ain't work. We don't have enough talent to just line up and put somebody's dick in the dirt. We ain't talented enough. So you know what you got to do? You got to trick them. Sleight of hand. Hey, got motion going over here. Eye candy. Look at this because we going this way. That's what we were doing at the beginning of the season. Jaden rolls right to throw a screen all the way back left to Austin Eckler. That's the shit we were doing. Not no bullshit ass, hey, Jaden's going to roll out to the right. Everybody run to the right and run a Cowboys defender right in front of Brian Robinson Jr., try to throw the screen, and it goes right into the hands of the defender. That's a bullshit ass screen. We're not good enough to just line up and just run a regular screen. We got to trick them. Hey, look over here, but the screen's going over there. That's the shit we got to do. And we were doing that early in the season, not doing it anymore. Now it's just basic. Just line up next to the quarterback, and I'm going to hand you the football. Hope we open up enough space for the running back. What happened to dual backfield? Austin Eckler hiding behind the guard, and they bootleg and get him out in the flats. What happened to that? What happened to Austin Eckler on one side, Brian Robinson Jr., okay, he's hurt. All right, put goddamn Jeremy McNichols on the other side. What happened to that? McNichols runs that way, Austin Eckler runs the other way, and you give it to Eckler. What happened to that? What happened? What happened to the misdirection? This is what the practice was supposed to bring back. Apparently, practice didn't make perfect. It just made the same old shit. Of course, we got nothing there. Protect Jaden and the Duke. This was the worst game of the season for protecting the football. The first time this season we've turned it over 3 times in a game. And you picked the absolute worst game to do it because what did I tell you? When you play bad teams, the great equalizer is turnovers. Penalties and turnovers will stunt your ability to put a bad team away. And when you start giving a bad team confidence and you don't score points, I already told you, the key for a bad team to beat a good team is to keep the score low. The score was 13-9 with 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. 13-9. The good guys were down to the dick, dastardly, dirty Dallas Cowboys. You were asking to get your ass beat. And you know why? You turned it over 3 times. You missed 2 extra points. You missed a field goal. You did stupid shit. Jaden was sacked 4 times, but he was really only sacked once. He ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage 3 times. That's dumb football. That's Derek Carr shit. Running out of bounds 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Where's the psychological sense in that? You out of bounds. You're running out of bounds. You don't like, throw the shit out of bounds. You're out of the pocket. Don't take a 3-yard loss when you just picked up 2 on second down. Now it's 3rd and 11. Where's the psychological sense in that, player? You need to wash your face and get your mind right. 3 turnovers against a team that was minus 11 in the plus-minus category. 3 turnovers. Meanwhile, we only got 1 back. Of course, we got no points there either. And Jaden, 4 sacks, even though one of them was legitimate, the other 3 weren't. We sacked Cooper Rush once, and that was because he led us on a 3rd down or 2nd down when they were trying to bootleg at the end of the game to try to catch us sleeping, and we weren't sleeping. And so he's wanted to stay in bounds and keep the clock running, and he let Daron Payne sack him. That was the only sack of the day on Cooper Rush. Bullshit. We'll get to that a little bit later on when we get to defensive keys. Then the last offensive key, score 30 or more with a bare minimum of 27. Well, we just missed that 27. You know what 27 would have done in this game? What a difference 27 would have made? Do I have to explain it to you? 27 might have gotten us a victory. I don't make this shit up, folks. I said, score 30 and you'll win. Clearly, we would have won this game if we would have scored 30. The Cowboys had no intentions. They had 13 points. They had no intentions of scoring 30 yesterday. None. But if we would have just scored 27, that game goes to overtime. More likely than not. I can't say that it would have for a fact. There would have been 21 seconds left. And they had a timeout. And they got a kicker who can kick it from 68 yards. So they would have just needed a 20-yard completion to be in the field goal range, potentially. But that's nor here nor there. 27 probably gets you to overtime. And then you have a chance to win the game. But they couldn't even do that. I said, score 30 or more and you win. You score 30 or more in this game, you win. With ease. You scored 27, which I said was the bare minimum. We're at least going to overtime. Even after all of the foolishness. Couldn't even do that. Of course, you get no points. You didn't follow directions. You get no points on the offensive side. I can't remember the last time I got no points on the offensive keys to the game. Not even a half point. You go to the defensive side and the defensive keys. Stop the run. Dominate the trenches. Did we do that? Against the second to last rush offense in football? Rico Dowdle had his second biggest day of his career. And technically, if you're talking about an yards per carry average, it was his best performance of his career in the NFL. Shameful. Shameful. Didn't stop the run. Allowed the Cowboys to be in manageable situations all day, although they did not convert on third downs. They were 2 of 11, I believe. Right? They were awful on third downs. This is another reason why it's just hard to fathom us losing this game. The Cowboys are ass. Everything that we see in this game, block punt, block field goal, missed extra point, missed field goal, right? Or missed field goal. All the shit that they did, a fumble. They tried to fumble again, right? You know, 2 high snaps, 1 killed a drive. Like another high snap that led to a fumble that we didn't recover. Like they are so bad. And yet they beat us. It's really hard to stomach. We didn't stop the run. And we allowed Cooper Rush to be comfortable. We'll get to that in a second. But of course, we got no points there. Deny the explosives. I put CD, Cooks, Turpin, etc. Now, Cooks didn't play. We caught a break. There was no Cooks. CD didn't have any explosive plays. We treated CD Lamb like he was Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. You would have thought he ran 4.3 at his combine. CD Lamb is a 4.5 40 athlete. And we treated him like he was a world-class sprinter. Did you see the play where we gave up the touchdown to Luke Schoonmaker? Did you see Quan Martin on that third down running over feverishly to double-team CeeDee Lamb like he was going to run a 4.27 down the sideline past our corner for a touchdown? Interesting. But they couldn't help themselves. They had to kick to Kevontae Turpin all day to make a point. The special teams coverage unit is one of our strongest units. That's what Dan Quinn said today at his press conference. It's one of our strongest units. It has been this season. No shame in telling those boys, hey, we believe in you and you're one of the best in the league. But we're not kicking to Kevontae Turpin this week. Doesn't make any sense to do so. And you know what they would have said? Hey, coach, we respect it. We don't like it, but we respect it. You know what else doesn't happen if you do that? You don't give up a 99-yard kickoff return with the game on the line. But I digress. Did they deny the explosives? No. They gave up a touchdown to Luke Schoonmaker from like 30 yards out, and they gave up a 99-yard kick return to Kevontae Turpin. And just to boot, onside recovery to Thomas at the end of the game. No, we did not deny the explosives. No points there. This one is comical. This one's laughable. harass, sack, confuse, and turn over Cooper Rush. Put a rush on Cooper. This was the worst pass rush game of the season. This and you know what really makes this bad is that they had the worst offensive line we've seen all season. I don't know who was playing left guard. I don't know who was playing right guard. They were playing musical chairs at left tackle. And yet, Cooper Rush stood back there nice and tall and threw that wobbly ass ball that he throws. He was throwing balls behind guys. The touchdown of Luke Schoonmaker looked like a duck that had been shot out of the air. That shit was just wobbling to Luke Schoonmaker. He throws an ugly ball. He's terrible. And yet he stood back there tall with confidence because we couldn't sniff him. Backup guards, backup tackles, musical chairs at tackle, and we couldn't even get a sniff on Cooper Rush. Shit is goddamn hysterical. Abysmal. I laughed to stop from crying. Here I am bragging on how this pass rush has gotten better the last month. You don't need to blitz Cooper Rush. Play coverage, rush 4. With that offensive line, we should be able to get home and make Cooper Rush uncomfortable. I said that shit out of my mouth all last week, and this defensive line made me look like a damn fool. What pressure? What rush? That was a pathetic display of making a quarterback uncomfortable. I could have played quarterback yesterday for the Dallas Cowboys and completed 17 of 24 for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. I could have did that shit. Of course, we got no points there either. And then lastly, ball is life. And ex-boys, have a day. Have a day. Ex-boys, have a day. Did a single Dallas Cowboy, former Cowboy, have an impact on this game? Outside of maybe Tyler Biadasz. I don't really recall Dante Fowler Jr. doing anything. Dorrance Armstrong had a tackle on CeeDee Lamb early in the game. He had a tackle on CeeDee Lamb early in the game on a jet sweep where he tackled him for a loss. Outside of that, Dorrance had a personal foul penalty on unsportsmanlike conduct with a Cowboys player after a field goal attempt. Had my heart, almost beating through my chest because I thought he had just given them a first down when they had kicked the field goal to make it 13-9. Luckily, it was after the kick, not during or before. I mean, maybe Noah Brown did something. I don't. I guess. But what are we talking about here, man? Seriously. We lost a turnover battle, 3-1. So ball wasn't life. Ball was on the ground after a Cooper Rush exchange with Ezekiel Elliott, couldn't recover it. Never even came remotely close to picking Cooper Rush off. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's getting a piece of Cooper Rush, picking him off, making him look pedestrian. We had a chance to pick him off. I thought it was a terrible call on a pass interference on Noah Igbenogany. That looked like a clean play, like a bullshit-ass call. But even after that, his ass fumbled the damn ball back to CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys. So it wouldn't have mattered anyway. The ball wasn't life, and the ex-boys didn't have a day. But the current boys did. No points there either. So as you can see, there were no points earned in the keys to victory. I don't know if I've ever had that happen before. Normally, they do something that I told them to do. Something. At least half. Nothing. Nothing in this game. Let's keep going. In other news. So we heard from Dan Quinn at his presser. And he said one thing that resonated with me, and I'll share that with you a little bit later on. But before we do that, let's get into the snap counts in this game for the offense and the defense. Start with the offensive side of the football. 70 snaps in this game total on the offensive side. And as you can see, all 5 of the offensive linemen, or 4 of them, excuse me, played the entire game. Andrew Wiley left about 2/3 of the way through the game with a concussion, did not return. And so I think Trent Scott took his place. I was wondering why we couldn't insert Cole Luke in there, but maybe they've only been working Cole Luke as the left tackle. I thought he was a swing tackle. I thought he could play both left and right. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, and he's really just been playing left tackle, so it's hard. It's one thing when you've been training your body to play both sides, which is what swing tackles usually do, but he's really just been playing the left tackle exclusively this season and even last. So I guess for them, it'd be easier to just leave him on the left side, but Trent Scott got out there, and it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. McLaurin played 57 snaps. Ertz played 53. Noah Brown 51. Eckler 44. Bates 29. Trent Scott 29. De'Ami Brown and Olamide Zaccheaus 24. Ben Sinnott 21. Luke McCaffrey 18. Jeremy McNichols 17. And Brian Robinson 12. B-Rob got injured. We got an update on him today. Tried to come back and play through the injury. He could not do it. I'd actually like to see, well, I guess we don't have a choice now. Jeremy McNichols get more opportunities. You know what's going to be interesting is that McNichols will be going up against his former team in the Tennessee Titans this week. So maybe this is the Jeremy McNichols revenge game. Revenge. It'd be nice if he went off on those boys. We could use the boost. Let's get to the defensive side. And 66 snaps on defense for this Commanders unit. Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, Quan Martin, and Jeremy Chin played all 66 of those snaps. Mike Samer still played 65, so he only missed 1 snap. Noah Igbenogany played 54. Dorrance Armstrong played 42. Deron Payne played 41 for 62% of the snaps. Yet we got no production really out of him in the game. You wouldn't have even known he played. You wouldn't have even known. At least we heard from Johnny Newton. At least we heard from Fedarian Mathis, who made a couple of plays, including blocking a punt. Now, Payne was also a big part of that blocked punt. Him and Fedarian bullied that center right into the kick, essentially. But again, not really feeling the impact on the defensive side for Deron Payne. Johnny Newton. Let me say this too. Look, I think Newton has a chance to be good. But the guy that I wanted was Braden Fisk. And I don't know if you watched the Rams game last night. He's now got 6.5 sacks this year. I'm just saying, damn. Benjamin St. Juice. I'm hoping that he's played his last. I really want him to be relegated to. I really want him to be relegated to Emmanuel Forbes status, where he's buried so deep on the bench that he doesn't even play. Like Emmanuel Forbes wasn't even active on Sunday, and when we get Marshawn Lattimore back, I think it's abundantly clear now what the plan of action is going to be. Noah Igbenogany played 54 snaps, and Mike Samer still played 65. I think we see what's going on here. Mike Samer still is going to stay on the outside along with Marshawn Lattimore when he gets healthy. And Noah Igbenogany is going to stay in the slot. And I think Michael Davis, even though he can't tackle to save his life, I think he should be the next guy up. And Benjamin St. Juice should be there only in case of an emergency. I'd put him on special teams. Relegate him to special teams duty. Keep him active just in case you need him. But he shouldn't see the field unless there's serious issues. That pass he gave up before half, inexcusable. I can't do it with him anymore. I've tried, and He just doesn't have it anymore. Whatever confidence he had when he was drafted, it's gone. He stinks. Cleveland Farrell, 33 snaps. Dante Fowler Jr., 32. I was really disappointed in him yesterday. I thought he would make more of an impact yesterday. That was the game for him to really show up and show out, have 2 sacks, a forced fumble, that kind of performance. Got nothing from him yesterday. Michael Davis played 29 snaps. Sheldon Day, 28. Fidarian Mathis, 15. John Baptiste. Hey, he makes a difference. I like that kid. I was so wrong about him. He makes a difference. He had a nice tackle for loss in the game. He had another, good tackle right around 1 or 2 yards gain. I think he had a good little pressure on a boot. He makes a difference. I like him a lot. Good to have him back. Jalen Holmes, 12 snaps. Percy Butler, 8 snaps. Derek Forrest, 2 snaps. And Michael Walker, 1 snap. And I don't know if that was a Dallas Cowboys thing or not, but Percy only getting 8 snaps is very interesting. And maybe they're cooling off on him after some of the missed tackles last week against Philadelphia. It could have just been a personnel thing with Dallas, and it didn't put them in a position where Percy could play a ton. But that's really interesting to see him only get 8 snaps in this game. So something to keep an eye on as we move forward, for sure. But getting back to DQ and his press conference, he talked about the one thing, he talked about a bunch of stuff, but none of it really pertinent to me. Just a lot of same rhetoric over and over again, shit he said a million times that's starting to go in one ear, out the other ear. But the one thing he said that did resonate to me, and I actually brought this up earlier. I actually said this, and I said it multiple times on the show I did earlier, the day after reaction. I said that this team felt like they were playing tight. Like the expectations start. I said this yesterday on the post-game show. Felt like the expectations starting to get to them. This was a team that came into the season with no expectations. And this has always been a problem for Commanders teams, Redskins teams, football teams. Always been an issue since the Dan Snyder era begun, is we've never handled expectations well. Every time there are no expectations and we aren't expected to do anything, we play loose, we play free, and we get results. The minute that there's expectations for this team to perform, we lose our minds. I don't know if they're believing the things that they're hearing, they're believing their own hype, or all of a sudden they're playing for something meaningful. And now, instead of them going out and playing that loose freestyle that we saw earlier, where they're having fun and making plays, now they're afraid to make a mistake because they're playing for something and there are expectations and they're not handling it well. This is the part of the growing process that does have to take place. Mind you, I've seen it with other teams. Like, this is a part of the process, learning how to win when there are expectations. That is an art and a skill. Not everybody can handle the target being on their back. Not everybody can handle high expectations. Most of our fan base is so scarred that they would prefer this team be the underdog, would prefer that this team be under the radar, because that's when they perform the best. But where we're trying to go, you can't have that mindset of, hey, I'd rather them not be checking for us. I'd rather everyone think that we're trash. It's easy to go about your business when there are no expectations, which is why I've reverted back to, hey, no expectations. Let's just see how this thing goes. And DQ said today at his press conference, he really felt like the team was starting to play tight. And he wants them to go out and play loose and free like they did at the beginning of the season. He said, I feel like they started to, hear a lot of the noise. They started to look towards the future. They started to hear some of the noise out there, and they started to believe some of that stuff, and they started to play tight. He said, and that's not who we are. That's not our brand of football. We play fast and physical. And he was asked, what are 3 things he'd like to see improve? And he said, we got to play fast and we got to play physical. He said, 2, he said that bye week is tough. This is the latest bye he's ever been a part of. He's never seen this one before. Well, we've done this 3 years in a row. Welcome to the party. Okay. I assume that this won't happen again next year for us. I assume that. All right. But he's like, yeah, it's tough, but we got to push through and we got to punch that ceiling. Well, you've made it to the bye week. Now you got to take care of business right before it. Right. He said 2, he wants to see this team. I forgot what the second thing was. And then the third thing was he wanted to see more turnovers, which I knew was going to be one of them because you got to produce the football. And we didn't do it in this game in particular. And we were getting better, but yesterday wasn't good enough, clearly. And so when it's all said and done, no, line of scrimmage was number 2. He said he wants to see them be better on both sides of the line of scrimmage. He's not wrong. We were bullied yesterday. We were bullied the last 2 weeks on the line of scrimmage against the Eagles and against the Cowboys. And again, if you want to get where you're going in this division, you got to beat the Cowboys and the Eagles. And if you're going to beat those 2 teams, you got to get tougher in the trenches. And right now, we're not tough enough. We're not physical enough. We're not good enough. And it showed yesterday. So he talked about that as well. The most profound statement was, hey, we got to focus on the here and now. We got to get back to our culture that we've established here. We got to be us. And being us means we focus on the task at hand and we don't allow the outside noise to infiltrate what we got going on. And we make sure that we play fast, we play free, we play physical, we don't play tight. Now, I would tell him it starts at the top with the coach. And you coached tight yesterday. So how do you think your team's going to respond to that? That would be my rebuttal to that is, you want your team to play loose, free, fast, and physical, you got to coach the same way. You bitched up on them yesterday. Call a spade a spade. You bitched up. 4th and 2 on the second possession of the game, that's been, hey, we rolling the dice all season long. That's what that's been. Even John Comm said after the game, hey, that's been one of those joints you've been going for. I don't really know what we're doing right now. There was no explanation for that. Oh, no, we got to a spot on the field. No, that's bullshit. You coaching tight, what you think your players going to do? They're going to play tight. So that would be my rebuttal to that, is you want them to play fast and free and loose? You got to loosen up. You got to coach the way that you were coaching earlier in the season. You can't ask the players to play the way that they were playing earlier in the season, which is what he said. I need them to play the way they were playing earlier. Well, you got to coach the way you was coaching earlier. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street here. He gave us updates on Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, and Andrew Wiley. Wiley and Eckler are both in the concussion protocol. My guess is all 3 of these guys aren't playing this week, and all 3 of these guys, thank God for the bye week, right? Because Eckler could probably be back after the bye. You think about it. No play this week, no play next week, and then you come back the week after that against the Saints. And that's 3 weeks. You'd like to think he'd be ready to rock and roll. Same for Brian Robinson Jr. He said that he got an ankle injury. They'll see what he looks like later in the week. He's not playing this week. All right, you can cancel Christmas on that. But the good thing is it's not a soft tissue injury. It's an ankle. So, you can monitor that. The swelling will go down eventually. You can see where he is. But he's got 3 weeks to get ready for the next game. You're not going to play this week, not going to play next week. We have the bye, obviously. And then you got all the next week before the game. He might be able to go, theoretically speaking, against the Saints. So this bye, while we complained about it, it could be the perfect time because Wiley might miss this game, but he should be back after the bye. Same with Eckler, I would guess. And then Robinson, too, could be back. So it wasn't all bad, right? It wasn't great. You don't want those guys out. But, we just got to get through one game, I think, without them. One game. So obviously there will be some corresponding moves to, help bolster that running back position. DQ talks about running with a deep crew. Well, The crew ain't that damn deep. So we'll see what they're going to do. Obviously, they're going to bring back Chris Rodriguez and probably have to add another running back, is my guess. But we'll keep tabs on that as well. But that was essentially what DQ said today. And I don't disagree with a lot of what he said. But at the end of the day, he's got to take accountability too. He's got to look in the mirror. You want them to play faster. You want them to play more aggressive. You want them to play loose. You got to coach loose. You got to coach like, hey, man, let's just go out here and have fun and do the things that we were doing earlier. Well, you set that tone. You coached like you were scared yesterday. You coached very uptight yesterday. So they played that way. We'll see what happens. But I can tell you this much. If things don't change, if we continue to see the team that we saw yesterday on the field, we might not win another game this season. Who you beating doing that shit? Not many teams. I don't know one team left on the schedule that you beat and scoring 9 points. Because that's all we had prior to all of that crazy shit going on. Was 9 points. Who the hell you beating doing that? Who the hell you beating losing a turnover battle 3-1? Who the hell you beating doing that? We had about 7 penalties yesterday. You couple that with the 4 of 11 on third downs, who you beating doing that? Who you beating doing that? 4 of 12, excuse me. 4 of 12 on third downs. Who you beating doing that? Gave up a kick return. You missed 2 extra points. You missed a field goal. Who you beating doing that? The average first half field position was the 50-yard line. I didn't stutter. We had 5 first half possessions. The average start field position for the Commanders was the 49-yard line. We averaged field position at midfield and we scored 3 whole points. 3 of our drives started in Cowboys territory and we scored 3 whole points. I'd love to know who you beating doing that. If shit doesn't change, when January rolls around, mid-January rolls around, we'll be on the couch watching the playoffs. It'll be a sad existence. Adversity is hit. Let's see that brotherhood. Let's see that culture. Here's where it gets tested. Here's where we find out what's really good. That's going to do it for me. Your man, Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys later. Hopefully, you'll join me for Chargers, Ravens later on, Monday Night Football overtime. If not, I'll see you tomorrow for Commanders Nightly News. Once again, obviously, this is going to be an abbreviated week with Thanksgiving coming up. So a lot's going on, and I'll keep you abreast of that, talk to you about it on the podcast, so forth and so forth. But in any event, enjoy the rest of your evening. Look forward to chopping it up with you next time. Until then, have a good one. Take care. God bless.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold.